thinking, intentionality is all that we really have. Our ability to be intentional when doing things in our lives sets the standard for our lives. And a lot of people say, motivation is cheap, but discipline is where it's at. But I also feel like in order to be disciplined, you have to be intentionally doing something. You have to be doing something for a purpose. And I always see these quotes everywhere that say, well, if you feel down about your purpose, or if you feel like what you're doing isn't making any sense, go back to your why. Remember your why. Like, why are you doing this, right? But sometimes I feel like there isn't always a why. Like, I got saved and I started believing in Jesus Christ about 3 years ago. I've always been, my family's always been a Christian, but I sought him out for myself during COVID, right? And there wasn't really a why, other than the fact that we were at home, we weren't doing anything, and COVID made me stop and have to reassess everything in my life, my values, my morals, what I do, what I fail to do, right? And through that, I don't really know how, but I found God. And so with everything that I'm doing now, there isn't a why, but there's a who. Every time I think about, I have to live this type of life, I want to live this type of life, I want to live a quiet life, I want to inspire people, I want to counsel people, I want to share my knowledge. When I think about my purpose and when I begin to think about the things that I want to do, my why is really my who, and my who is really myself. I think about my younger self and my inner child, and I begin to think about everything that I wasn't given, everything that I didn't have access to, the things that were normalized that were very much destructive. And so I think the main difference between the life I lived as a child and the life that I could have lived as a child was the adults in my life. And so that's kind of my why, my why for why I do the things that I do and why I want to live this life, why I want to be a social worker, why I want to be an art therapist. My why I want to work with children is because when I needed adults and people who were supposed to know more than me and be wiser than me and lead me and guide me, and when I needed those type of people in my life as a child to stick up for me, be my voice, teach me how to find my voice, there was no adults there, not even my parents, right? And of course I realized that they were doing the best that they could with what they were given, but that's not a good enough excuse for the amount of children and for the amount of people who are going through things that they shouldn't have to go through. And so I guess my why and my intentionality is just wanting to give other people what I wasn't given, right? But in order to get there, I feel like we have to be intentional. In order to get there, we not only have to have discipline, but our intentionality should be our motivation. I'm intentional about this. This is something that I really want to do. And I guess you have to have a lot of passion behind something. The amount of times I've seen people do something that they look so good at doing and then fall off. And I'm just like, why did you fall off? You were so good at this. And the reason is because there is no intention behind it. There is no strong reasoning behind it. And when our passions and when our motivations are motivated by money or by wealth or by selfish ambition and selfish desire, you're never going to get far with that. I always say the meanest girls, the most rude, trashiest girls in high school are the same girls who, when they get into grade 12, you ask them, what do you want to be in life? And they're like, I want to be a social worker. I want to be a psychologist. It's always psychology, by the way. I want to be a psychologist. I want to be a nurse. And I'm just like, you people don't have a kind bone in your body. What do you mean you want to be a nurse? To be a nurse, to be a social worker, to be a psychologist, it takes patience. It takes humility. It takes somebody who can hear everybody's flaws and still not judge them. It takes so much more than just a degree or studying or a master's. You actually have to be wholly committed to it, right? And not everybody, because I want to do social work and I'm not a mean girl, but not everybody does things for the right reason, and that's why things fall off. And so when we talk about discipline, there has to be intentionality. Let's say I want to be a nurse, right? My intention has to be pure. It can't be I want to be a nurse, a travel nurse, so I can make a bunch of money. My intention should be, let's say I had grandparents who weren't taken care of properly by a nurse and they died, and now my intention behind this is to make sure that nobody else has to go through that, right? So I want to be a nurse who takes care of older people. So then that's my intention. Then when I go to school to study to be a nurse, maybe it's hard. Maybe I want to drop out. Maybe I want to quit. But because of my intentionality from the very beginning, it motivates me to stay disciplined in that field of study and finish what I started. I hope that makes sense. But I was just having that thought about how we often talk about how discipline is key, but it really isn't unless you're actually intentional about what it is you're doing or what it is you're disciplining yourself in. So just keep that in mind if you're choosing a career, if you're changing your career, if you're, still searching for your purpose or still trying to get an idea of what your purpose is. Realize that your purpose will always come with intentionality before it comes with discipline. Your purpose will always have a reason or an intention behind it before it ever has a discipline or a focus or a force. So I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind, and it really helped me when choosing or figuring out my purpose, because I was like, I like helping people, but that's not an intention. Why do I want to be a social worker, right? Anyways, I hope this helped somebody, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and remember to breathe and enjoy yourself.